Scientists just confirmed the largest invertebrate apex predator in Earth's history. Not a squid, but an octopus that was 62 feet long and intelligent enough to favor one side of its body like a human favors their right hand. It competed with mosasaurs at the top of the Cretaceous food chain for 14 million years, and it went extinct 72 million years ago. Today, you're gonna hatch as one in the modern ocean. The ocean that spent 66 million years evolving predators designed specifically to kill things like you. The first thing you feel is wrong. Not wrong like danger, you don't know what danger is yet, but wrong like the water itself is fighting you. You're 2 centimeters of see-through tissue, barely more than a heartbeat wrapped in skin, and the cold is already shutting you down. Your ancestors evolved in 18 degrees Cs. This water is 4 degrees. That gap is 14 degrees of slow death that you don't have the neurons to understand yet. But your body knows. Your 3 tiny hearts are working twice as hard as they should just to keep your blood from turning to sludge. You are Nanaimoteuthis hagarti, or you will be if you survive the next few hours. The first days are terror. You have 8 arms and no idea what to do with them. Everything in this water wants to eat you. Fish, crabs, other octopuses, things with teeth that you can't even see in the dark. You hide in crevices between rocks and eat whatever drifts close enough to grab. A dead shrimp here, a piece of something that used to be alive there. You don't hunt yet. You can't. You're too small, too slow, and too cold to do anything but survive 1 minute at a time. But here's the thing about your brain. It is not like other brains. You have around 500 million neurons packed into a body the size of a human fingernail, and they're learning faster than anything else in this ocean. Your arms can taste. Yes, every sucker has sensors that tell you what you're touching before your brain even knows to ask. Your skin can think too, with pigment cells that shift color and texture without waiting for orders from your main brain. And then there's the disappearing. One day you press yourself against a rock face, and without deciding to do it, your whole body becomes part of the stone. The color, the texture, everything. That's the first time you feel something other than fear. By the time you're 10 centimeters long, still small enough to fit in a human palm, you're ready for your first real hunt. You spot a shrimp twice your size, and something ancient wakes up in your brain. You don't think about what to do. Your arms just move, your skin fires, and suddenly you're invisible against the rock. The shrimp never sees you. When your beak punches through its shell, you feel something you've never felt before. That this is what you were built for. The cold is still killing you. You're still alone in an ocean that's been trying to end you since the moment you hatched, but for 3 seconds, none of that matters. For 3 seconds, you understand why your species ruled the Cretaceous. That feeling is going to matter later, so remember it. The first months bring more moments like that one. You learn to hunt in the twilight zone, where the sun can't reach and everything that lives down here makes its own light. You figure out which prey is worth the energy and which will cost you more calories than you'll get back. You start thinking about space, not consciously, but in the way your neurons map every crevice and current and hiding spot until you know a patch of ocean better than you know your own body. And then one night, something changes. You're drifting in a slow current at 400 meters, not hunting, not hiding, just moving with the water, and below you a swarm of tiny animals pulses with light. Blue and green, rippling through the dark in patterns that don't mean anything but won't let you look away. Your arms trail behind you. Your 3 hearts beat slow for the first time since you hatched. The fear that's been living in your gut since you were 2 centimeters of nothing finally lets go. You don't have a word for what this is. You don't have words for anything, but if you did, the word would mean peace. Hold on to that. It's going to matter more than you know. By the time you're a meter long, you've carved out something real. A seamount ridge where the water runs slightly warmer than the black around it, where crabs cluster in the rocks and small fish school in patterns you've learned to predict. You know every crack in the stone, every current that brings food your way. You've memorized when the 6-gill sharks come through, and you've learned to be somewhere else when they do. This patch of ocean isn't much by Cretaceous standards, but it's yours. For the first time in your life, you have something to lose. And that's when the sleeper shark finds you. 4 meters of slow-moving, dead-eyed predator drifting out of the dark like it's got nowhere else to be. And it doesn't. Sleeper sharks have been killing things like you since before the extinction that ended your species. They don't need to be fast because they never need to chase. They just show up, patient and cold, and wait for their prey to make a mistake. Your first instinct is to fight. You're built to dominate. Your ancestors crushed ammonites and went head-to-head with mosasaurs. 14 million years of dominance that runs through your blood. But your body knows something that your instincts don't. You're not big enough. Not yet. The cold has stolen too much of your speed and too much of your strength. If you try to fight this thing, you die. So you do something your Cretaceous ancestors never had to do. You run. You flatten against the rock and shift your skin to match the stone, and jet backward into a crevice too small for the shark to follow. Then you wait, hearts pounding, arms shaking, copper blue blood running so cold you can barely feel your own suckers, while the shark circles your hiding spot like it's got all week. 20 minutes pass before it loses interest and drifts back into the dark. 20 minutes of being prey. But you survive, and something has shifted in your brain. You didn't win because you were stronger. You won because you were smarter than your own instincts. You chose to retreat when every neuron you have was screaming to attack, and that choice is the only reason you're still alive. And eventually, that lesson is going to save you again and again, and hopefully, it's going to be enough. By the end of your first year, you're pushing 3 meters, then 4. The large squid that you used to hide from are prey now. The crabs that scared you when you were small crack open under a beak that gets stronger every month. You're growing into the thing your genetics always said you'd be, and with every meter of length, the fear gets smaller. You've learned to work around the cold. You've built a life that almost functions. But there's a problem that you can't grow your way out of. Every instinct in your body was calibrated for an ocean that doesn't exist anymore. The strategies that made your ancestors unstoppable don't work the same when the water is 15 degrees colder than it's supposed to be. The dominance patterns that kept them at the top of the food chain mean nothing when the ocean's already got apex predators, and they've had 50 million years to perfect the art of killing things exactly like you. You've survived the cold, the starvation, the sleeper shark. You've taught yourself to be smarter than your own programming, and you've started to believe that you might actually belong here. But the ocean always watches. It's been paying attention, and it's about to introduce you to something your species never learned to fight. An intelligent pack hunter that weighs 6,000 kilograms, that communicates across miles of open water and treats killing things like you as a team sport. These are the new gods. These are the orcas. The hunt happens so fast, your brain barely keeps up. You spot the giant squid at 600 meters, 12 meters of muscle and beak and tentacles, one of the largest predators in the modern deep. In the Cretaceous, your ancestors crushed ammonites the size of car tires without slowing down. This thing is bigger, faster, and fighting back with everything it has, but you're bigger than it now. 8 meters of arm and beak and killing instinct that's been sharpening for months, and when your arm locks around its mantle and your beak punches through the cartilage behind its eye, the squid goes limp in seconds. You eat for hours. The cold has slowed your whole system to a crawl, which means you don't need to hunt every day. But when you do hunt, you hunt big. Giant squid, king crabs the size of dinner tables, their shells cracking under a beak that could shear through steel cables. Once, a 4-meter 6-scale shark drifted to what you'd start thinking of as yours. You wrapped 6 arms around its body before it knew what was happening, and your beak found the soft spot behind its gills. The shark thrashed for maybe 30 seconds, and then the thrashing stopped. You're starting to feel like what you were always supposed to be. The thing about your brain is that it's not just big, it's organized in a way that changes how you solve problems. You favor certain arms for certain tasks, the same way a human favors their right hand or left hand, depending on which one is dominant. You have 40 million neurons per arm, each one working on its own, while the main part of your brain focuses on the kill. It's the kind of setup that made your ancestors the top predators of the Cretaceous for 14 million years. And right now, 8 meters and growing, you're starting to remember what that feels like. But the cold is still there. Your blood moves slower in this water than it should, and your reactions lag by fractions of a second that your ancestors never had to think about. When you strike, you're fast, but not as fast as you would have been in warmer water. 15 degrees got stolen from you the moment you hatched, and you've spent your whole life working around what's missing. Ambush instead of chase, camouflage to close distance before your prey figures out what's happening. You've built a version of dominance that works despite the handicap, and then you feel them. Not see, but feel, because echolocation hits your body like a pulse of pressure, and half a second later, your brain catches up to what that means. Something is pinging you with sound, building a picture of your body from the echoes, and there's more than one of them. You turn, and the water goes wrong. Shapes at the edge of what you can see, black and white, moving in a pattern that isn't random. There's 5 of them. Orcas. Your instincts fire before your brain can process. Orcas are mammals, warm-blooded, air-breathing, built for speed and water that slows you down. They hunt in groups and they communicate while they do it. They've been the top predators of every ocean on Earth for 10 million years, and they earn that spot by being smarter than everything else and working as a team. One orca is a problem that you can handle. 5 is something you weren't built to solve. They don't attack right away. They start circling instead, and that's when you realize what's happening. They're mapping you. Every click and whistle, every burst of sound is building a shared picture that all 5 of them can see. They're talking about you. They're deciding how they want to do this. One of them breaks formation and rushes your left side. Your arms whip out to meet it. You're still fast enough for that. But the orca was never going to hit you. It was a fake. While you turned left, 2 others cut off your escape to the right, and a 4th drops below you, blocking your dive. The 5th hangs back, watching, adjusting the plan as it goes. They're pushing you towards the surface. You know what waits up there. Orcas are faster in shallow water, where the pressure drops and there's nowhere to hide. They can come at you from angles that you can't defend. Every meter you rise is a meter closer to dying in a way your ancestors never had to imagine. Your instincts scream to fight. You're an apex predator with a beak that can crack bone, 8 arms, and a body mass that rivals theirs. Your ancestors went head to head with mosasaurs, which were 40-foot marine reptiles with jaws that could crush a boat. You come from a lineage of animal that doesn't run. But running is exactly what kept you alive when the sleeper shark found you. And right now in water that's stealing your speed, your reaction time, and your ability to fight the way that you're supposed to, you're not fast enough to take 5 coordinated killers at once. You know this the way that you knew to hide when you were small. You make a choice. Instead of rising, you dive. You push downward with everything your body can give, pulling water through your siphon and shooting it out in desperate bursts. The cold gets worse as you drop. 500 meters, 600, 700. Your hearts are working harder than they've ever worked, straining to keep you moving through water that wants you to stop. The orcas follow for a while, but they need to breathe. They have limits that you don't. At 800 meters, the first one turns back. At 900, 2 more give up. And by the time you pass 1,000 meters, the clicking has faded and the water has gone quiet. You survive, but you didn't win. You're drifting now. A kilometer down, bleeding from where one of them caught you during the fake out. The cold is worse here than anywhere you've ever been. Your neurons firing slow, your arms barely doing what you tell them. You got away from the orcas by going somewhere they couldn't follow, but you also went somewhere your body never wanted to be. And that's when the truth hits you. You're not the apex predator here. The role you were built for, the spot your ancestors held for 14 million years, that was already filled when you hatched. The orcas didn't take it from anyone. They inherited it. Their ancestors made it through the extinction that killed yours, and they've had 15 million years to get good at this. They pass information between generations and teach their kids how to hunt, coordinating in real time with the kind of teamwork that solo dominance can't beat. Your programming is out of date, so you drift deeper, telling yourself that this is safety. The deep is where your ancestors ruled. The deep is where things built like you belong. Down here, the orcas can't reach you, but the deep isn't empty. There's something down here that's been hunting giant squid and octopuses longer than the orcas have existed. It doesn't need a pack or a plan. It can dive deeper than you can run and hold its breath longer than you can hide. And when it hunts, it makes the loudest sound any animal has ever produced. 230 decibels of focused pressure that can find you in total blackness until its brain exactly where every part of your body is. It's been down here this whole time, and somewhere in the dark below you, it's starting to pay attention. Months pass in the deep. You're pushing 15 meters now, growing towards 18, nearly as big as your ancestors ever got. The cold hasn't beaten you yet, your blood still runs slower than it should, and your reactions still drag behind what they would be in warmer water. But you've figured out how to live with that. You hunt the seamounts where the crabs gather and track the squid migrations, intercepting them at choke points. You've mapped the orca territories in your head and stay away from those waters like they're made of poison. Something that almost works. That's what you've built down here. Some nights when the hunting is done, you're drifting in a slow current at 1,000 meters. You watch the light show below you. Bioluminescence rippling through swarms of tiny animals, blue and green flashing in patterns that don't mean anything but won't let you look away. Your arms trail behind you, your heart's beating slow. You're reminds you of something. A night when you were small, floating in a warmer current, watching the same kind of light pulse through a cloud of jellyfish. You didn't have a word for what you felt back then, but some part of you held onto that feeling and carried it all the way down here, into the coldest water you've ever lived in, and now it's the closest thing you have to something worth protecting. You're starting to think you might actually make it, but then it starts as a vibration that you can't place. It's a pulse of pressure, but not like the orca clicks. This is deeper, heavier, a wave of pressure that moves through your whole body like something just shoved the entire ocean an inch to the left. Every neuron fires the same message at once, and it's not a message you've ever gotten before. Something is here. It's something big. It takes almost a full minute for him to show himself. He rises out of the dark below you, moving so slowly that at first you're not sure he's moving at all. 50 feet of body with a head that takes up a third of his total length, and eyes set back on either side of a skull that looks like someone carved it from a mountain. A sperm whale, an adult male, drifting upward like gravity doesn't apply to him, watching you with the calm patience of something that has never been in a hurry, because he's never needed to be. There's no pack, no herding, no chaos of clicking and rushing from multiple directions. There's just him rising towards you with unhurried certainty of something that knows exactly how this ends. His sonar hits you again, a focused burst of sound so loud it rattles your insides, painting a perfect picture of your body and sending it back to a brain that's been doing this for 60 years. You try to run. You jet sideways with everything you have, water pumping through your siphon in desperate bursts. For half a second, you think you might be faster than he expects, but the cold has finally caught up with you. Your muscles are sluggish and your coordination is off, and when you look back, he's still there. Not chasing, not speeding, just adjusting his angle and closing the distance like he knew where you were going before you did. You dive deeper and he follows. You change direction and he matches it. You try to vanish against the seafloor with every trick your skin knows. But his sonar doesn't care what color you are. It sees through your camouflage, maps the shape of your body, and tells him exactly where you're hiding, and he keeps coming. The cold you've been fighting your whole life is finally winning. Your arms barely responding to what you're telling them, your heart strained to push blood that's thickening by the minute. And the thing closing in on you, the thing that's about to catch you, was built for this water. His ancestors have been hunting giant squid and octopuses down here for 50 million years. They outlasted the extinction that killed yours, and then they spent all of that time getting better at killing things exactly like you. So you try to fight. You spin and wrap your arms around his head, your beak driving towards the soft tissue near his eye. For 1 second, you feel like what your lineage was supposed to be, a predator, not prey. But he's faster in the cold than you are, and his mass is 30 times yours. When he rolls, you feel your arms tear at the base, and then his jaws closing around you, and there's nothing else to try. And here's the part that breaks something. Your brain is still working. All those neurons, the ones that learned this ocean, that outran the sleeper shark, that escaped the orcas by being smarter than your body was fast, they're all still firing. You understand what this is. Not as fear, not as instinct, but as knowledge. You know exactly what's happening and exactly why. The warm seas that made your kind what they were have been gone for 66 million years, and the hard-shelled prey that you were built to crush went extinct with the dinosaurs. The role you belonged in was already taken before you hatched, and the creature killing you now isn't doing anything wrong. He's just doing what 50 million years of evolution designed him to do. You were built for a world that needed you, and he was built for the world that replaced it. And in your last moments, your mind goes somewhere you didn't expect. Not to the orcas, not to the shark, not to any of the things that tried to kill you. It goes back to that night, the one at 400 meters when you were young and the current was warm, and the bioluminescence pulsed below you like something breathing. You didn't know what that feeling was. You didn't have a word for it, but you found it anyway. In the wrong ocean, in water 15 degrees colder than your body was made for, surrounded by predators that had 50 million years to learn how to kill you. You found something that felt like it mattered. You watched the light, drifted in the current. You were the last of something that ruled the Cretaceous for 14 million years, and somehow, against everything trying to stop you, you lived long enough to find wonder in a world that wasn't built for you. The whale's jaws tighten, the cold stops hurting, and somewhere in the deep Pacific, in water that's been waiting 66 million years to finish what the asteroid started, the largest invertebrate the modern ocean has ever seen goes still, and the ocean keeps moving without it. If you enjoyed watching this video, make sure to give it a like and comment down below what other dinosaurs or prehistoric creatures you'd like to see in modern environments. If this video gets 20,000 likes, then whatever the top comment is, we'll make our next video on that creature. Make sure to also subscribe and hit the post notification button so you don't miss out on any of our future uploads. And if you want to watch another one of my videos, you can click the one that's on your screen right now, and I'll see you there.